everyone, welcome back and thank you so much for tuning in to the next episode on the series of A to Z of plants here on Humble Jungle. Today we're going to be covering the Calathea. Native to the tropical Americas, the Calathea are like the divas of the plant world, and today I've worn my diva earrings. They are ridiculously sized, but the reason I've done this is because, as I mentioned just then, these guys can be known as divas. Calatheas are sometimes also known or labeled as prayer plants. The reason for this is because during the night their leaves fold up and during the day they fold back in search of the sun. This is made possible by a small elbow known as a nyctinasty, which exists between the leaf and the stem. Calathea plants usually grow about 2 feet tall and they are known for their beautiful foliage. You can have so many different patterns and leaf shapes and sizes that they're a very interesting plant to own. Calatheas enjoy a medium to bright indirect light. I do find that direct light, similarly with most indoor plants, can burn their foliage. And in terms of temperature, you're going to want to not let them really get under 15 degrees. The happy spot's generally between 18 and 30. When watering your Calathea, I like to let mine partially dry out. I like to use the half and half rule. And I'm one of those people, I don't use any fancy probes when checking whether my plants need watering. I like to just go old school and stick a finger on in. The half and half rule is generally if I feel about halfway down and it's still dry for the top half, I will then water them. I did mention earlier that these guys can be known as divas, and that's partially due to humidity. Calatheas do enjoy a higher humidity, so you're going to want to think greenhouse type humidity and temperatures when caring for these plants. If you don't, you're going to see things like leaf burn and leaf crisping around the edges of the leaf. If you're unsure about the humidity or temperature in the area you've got them in, you can purchase something like this. This is a ThermPro humidity and temperature meter. They're about $20 on Amazon, so they're super inexpensive, and it will give you a pretty good idea of the lows and highs that you do actually experience in both humidity and temperature in the place that you're keeping these plants. I have quite a few of these around the house. You can actually see at the moment that we're currently at about 51% humidity. The reason for that is I've actually turned my humidifier off to film this video, but generally, as I mentioned, around 60 I find is the sweet spot for mine. You might find that differs a little bit for you and depending on the Calathea that you have, but yeah, 60 is kind of what I aim for. Another reason you might see leaf burn is because of your water. Some Calatheas can be really fussy with water. I have found particularly that this Zebrina that I have here, I'll bring him closer a little bit later in the video, he can be particularly fussy with water. What I mean by that is that the natural salts and minerals and things in our tap water can actually build up in the leaves and cause that leaf burn. Some of the things you can do to combat this is using filtered water. I'm honestly not that precious and don't have that much time to be filtering water for my plants, but there are a couple of other solutions you can have. You can use rainwater, or like what I do, I fill up a glass with water, I will stick it beside a window or anywhere really, leave it there for 24 to 48 hours, and that will allow those salts and minerals to evaporate off, so you're going to have some cleaner water than otherwise if you just taken it from the tap and then doused your plant in it. Even though Calatheas do like a humid environment, you definitely don't want to keep their soil soggy as they can suffer from root rot. I recommend using a porous, well-draining soil and also a pot which has plenty of drainage as well to help that water come out and not sit in the soil and allow for root rot to take hold. There's a few different ways you can propagate your Calatheas. My personal favorite way is by division. You'll find that when your plant becomes more established, you'll see new shoots come out through the soil or whatever medium you've got them in. If you want to divide them, you can take them out of the soil, gently break away part of that new baby plant and repot it, making sure you've kept some roots intact as much as possible. You can also propagate through cuttings. I haven't had as much experience in this. It has worked for me before, but I do find pups or division being the better method. If you do choose to propagate by cuttings, I recommend around a 10 centimeter cutting with at least 1 leaf. You're probably going to want to aim for 2 or 3 just as a bit of an insurance measure, but generally at least 1 leaf. You can also, if you are using cuttings, put them in water. If you do that, I recommend using some kind of rooting chemical or hormone to help increase the likelihood of you actually having a successful propagation as opposed to it just dying. When propagating cuttings, another thing you can do is put it on a heat pad or keep it in a warm position. That's going to help the success rate as well. You can also propagate via seed, but this is a little less common and not something I personally have experience in, although I do know it is possible. Time to meet my Calatheas. The first one I'm going to introduce you to is my Calathea orbifolia. Now you will see that these have beautiful, big, orb-like leaves with some really beautiful patterns on them. The leaves on these can grow quite large, and they are just a stunning foliage plant like most Calatheas. The next plant I have to show you is my rattlesnake Calathea. Now he is a little bit different than my other Calatheas because he does have really, really long leaves as opposed to them being round. And they do have this beautiful ribbing or crimping in the leaves, which gives them a super interesting look. You'll see when you're getting close to the leaves, they do have some lovely patterning. And as I mentioned earlier with Calatheas, you can see that his leaves are pointed downwards, but towards the evening, you will see those actually fold back up again. He is a beautiful little specimen, even though he is small, I absolutely adore him. Next one on the list, and one of my favorite Calathea, probably my favorite actually when I really think about it, is my Calathea macquayana. Now, I could go on for days about the reasons why I love this plant. Firstly, the foliage. We all know that I am I don't want to swear here, but I'm a bit of a slut for foliage. And this guy is just absolutely stunning. You will see here, he's got these beautiful intricate leaf patterns. And also on the back, you do get these stunning, it's almost as if the pattern turns purple. When you get in really close, you'll see these beautiful little lines. I don't even know what you'd call them, but they are similar to a Calathea mosaica, which I am on the hunt for currently. And one of the things I enjoy most about this guy is that in some ways he almost looks like he's a fake plant. His leaves are so shiny. My husband, when I bought it home, actually thought he was a plastic plant and was like, why are you buying plastic plants? He's not. He just looks that good that he can be mistaken for being a fake plant because of his beautiful shiny leaves. He has really thrived since I brought him home, and he is just an absolute joy to look at. You can actually see he is pushing some new growth through here. You can see the leaves kind of come up in a tubular form through the soil and then will unfurl slowly. A great example of why you want to keep the humidity high and watch your watering can be observed on several of my Calatheas because I'm not perfect. You'll see here that there is some slight leaf burning and browning on some of the older leaves where I've neglected him a little bit, but I'm learning to be less fussy with my leaves and be less of a perfectionist and just, you know, get used to the fact that not all my plant leaves are perfect. It has been a struggle, I'm not gonna lie, but in nature, nothing is perfect. So I don't know why my expectation for the plants in my house to be perfect would be that. Next up, I have a stunning Calathea Beauty Star. Now, these plants are a lot of fun. You will see here again, more beautiful foliage, but what I really love about these is this beautiful pink pattern that looks almost as if it's been painted on. You do get different variations from darker green down into a lighter green. Some bits are almost white, and then that beautiful dash of pink through the leaves gives you such a beautiful bit of interest in your home. I know I mentioned earlier that Calatheas can be fussy and divas. Not all of them are like that, and don't let that put you off buying them because they are a lot of fun and a great way to introduce some interest and foliage and color into your home. Second last is, mussels. My Calathea zebrina. This was actually the first Calathea that I own. It was given to me by my sister-in-law. That's why he is a bit bigger. He is the fussiest of my Calathea. I don't know whether anyone's found one that's fussier, but personally for me, he is the most difficult to keep happy. He's the most susceptible to leaf burn. But in having said that, he is very, very happy. It has thrown so many new leaves, so many new pups. If I kind of give you a look into the soil here, let me pull this foliage back. You'll see that some of these are newer, and when I get a new one, it'll pop up here through the soil like that. The last Calathea, and I've saved this for last, is my Calathea medallion. Now, the reason I've saved it for last, and a bit of a disclaimer, is that it's been suffering from spider mites. If you've seen any of my previous videos, I believe it may have been the one on my alocasia, I did mention that I have had a recent outbreak of spider mites, and this guy has been particularly affected. I also, in all honesty, lost a Calathea dotty. I'll pop a photo of how they look up here. They're absolutely stunning. You have this beautiful dark foliage and these hot pink stripes, which is just gorgeous to look at. However, I didn't realize he was that overcome until it was too late, and sadly I did lose him about a month ago, and I am really battling to keep this one alive. As I said, this is a Calathea medallion, and he is honestly not looking like he's having a great time at the moment. Let me try and find a good leaf. So maybe if you see this leaf here, you'll see there is a beautiful stripe down the middle, this lighter border through here, and then the darker green throughout the rest of the leaf. This leaf is a really good example of spider mite damage. You'll see there's actually some lighter bits through here. Potentially it might even look like a little dot or many little dots, and the reason that is like that is because the spider mites have actually sucked the life out of him. I'm doing all I can to try and keep him alive. I will keep you guys updated. If you want to check out my Instagram, it is at humblejungle.au. On Instagram, you can follow all my plant journeys there. It's essentially a way for me to have a bit of a plant diary and track the progress and growth of my plants. So I highly recommend you jump over there and follow me. So yeah, definitely do that if you want to keep up to date and see whether this guy actually makes it. As I mentioned, I'm trying as hard as I can to keep him alive. One thing I didn't just mention though is the beautiful backs of these leaves. They are this stunning deep purple color, and you see them more when he does fold up at night. And another thing I did want to touch on is just the crisping on the end of this leaf. When you notice that a Calathea is crisping on the end of the leaf, it could be due to a plethora of reasons. The reason that I wanted to point this out is because you'll see that it's kind of gone, how do I put it? They're kind of folding, rather than just crisping up, they're kind of folding over each other, folding back onto each other, and this is exactly what my Calathea dotty did before he sadly passed. RIP. But as I said, I'm determined to try and keep him alive, so we'll see how we go. Thank you once again for tuning in. I really appreciate you watching. Please don't forget to hit subscribe to keep up to date with the new videos that we do have coming out. I really, really appreciate it, and it does help me grow this channel so I can share my love for plants with more people. If you have any questions or anything I haven't covered, please chuck a comment down below, and have a lovely day everyone. Take care. Bye plant friends. Thanks for tuning in.